Hello everyone, I'm currently in Helsinki and today I'm visiting the Museum of Malware Art. With me is Mikko. Hello Mikko, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you. So my name is Mikko. I am the Chief Research Officer for WithSecure, and I've been working in cybersecurity for over 30 years and in technology for over 40 years. I started as a teenage programmer on a Commodore 64. I published my first commercial programs when I was 17 years old. And in 1991, when I was 21, I reverse engineered and analyzed and named a virus that I found. And that's how I got hooked up into cybersecurity, and that's where I've been working ever since. And during that time, the world really has changed. Today, the attacks we see are completely different from the ones we used to see in the early 1990s. So I've been working in the field of cybersecurity for more than 30 years, but I haven't had a boring day yet.
Yeah, I fully understand that. For me, it's the same. What do you consider the most dangerous threat in cybersecurity nowadays?
The attacks are quite different depending on who's being targeted. Home users mostly get targeted by scams, like auction scams or Airbnb scams or romance scams or cryptocurrency investment scams. But then when you look at companies and organizations, it's quite different. They are mostly being targeted with ransomware or with denial of service attacks or maybe CEO scams. But I guess the most defining feature of attacks we see today is that they are financially motivated. Someone is trying to make money by misusing our systems. There are some exceptions. We sometimes see politically motivated attacks or governmental or intelligence motivated attacks, but those are rare. The most common attacks are trying to make money.
What is the most memorable or surprising moment in your career in cybersecurity?
In the summer of 2010, we discovered an unusually large sample of malware, which we received from a security company from Belarus. And I remember it took us several days to unmangle the malware, and it was really different from everything else we used to see at the time. And then I realized that all the other security companies in the world were stumped as well. We were exchanging emails with our colleagues in other companies, and everybody was trying to make sense of this massive malware which contained code we had never seen before, which seemed to be controlling some kind of factory systems as well. And of course, this turned out to be Stuxnet, the infamous case of malware written by US government together with the Israeli government targeting the nuclear enrichment systems of Iran. And it took us eventually several weeks to decode the whole malware and understand that this really is targeting nuclear systems, and this really is a governmental attack from one government against another. And it really changed the worldview cybersecurity companies had towards our work altogether.
What is the current role of AI in cybersecurity, especially with new large language models like GPT?
Security companies have been forerunners in using machine learning and artificial intelligence. For example, here at WithSecure, we started our first AI projects in 2005. That's 19 years ago. We've been using it for a very long time. Granted, 19 years ago, it wasn't generative AI. It was mostly machine learning, mostly automating our work, because nowadays the amount of samples we have to analyze is massive, and there's no way we could keep up with the attacks unless we would use automation to analyze big part of the samples instead of humans analyzing the samples. But for the last 3 years now, as generative AI revolution has become more and more concrete, of course, we have been moving towards that direction as well. And all that time, we've been waiting for the enemy to do the same switch. Good guys are using AI and machine learning and generative AI to defend. Bad guys can of course use these same technologies for attack as well, but they've been, to my opinion, surprisingly slow to take up to these new tools and to these new mechanisms.
Can you prove that you are not a deepfake live on camera right now?
Of course I cannot, because deepfake technology is good enough that you can't actually prove it. In fact, I've been in Zoom meetings where I've spoken with someone that I've never met for half an hour, and then the other party told me that, by the way, this isn't me, this is a deep fake, and they changed their face. So you can nowadays make almost perfect deepfakes. I've seen almost perfect deepfakes of myself. So the tip I have for everybody is to do what I do and carry an extra finger with you. You can actually buy extra fingers online. And whenever somebody wants to take a selfie with you, you can just use 6 fingers, and later you can claim that, that's a deep fake. I've never been there, I've never met this Florian guy, just count the fingers. Okay, maybe it's not a very good tip, but it's a tip anyway.
So now we are in the Museum of Malware Art, and I want to ask you, what is the Museum of Malware Art and what inspired the creation of this museum?
So the Museum of Malware Art is inside the lobby of the WithSecure headquarters here in Helsinki. This is a new building. We just moved in a month ago. And when we started planning this new building, we wanted to, build something special for the first floor. We had plenty of space here. So 6 years ago, I started a cooperation with the Internet Archive. That's archive.org, which collects old websites and a lot of old information and archives it for the future generations. And together with Jason Scott, who works for the archive, we built a collection of old viruses which you could actually run online and see what they looked like. And then when we started building this new headquarters, we just moved into this new building as the WithSecure Global Headquarters, we had a meeting about whether we could build something for the lobby area here in our building. And someone floated the idea, hey Mikko, you've built this collection of old viruses, maybe we could showcase them here as well. However, we don't just want to delve into the past, we want to look into the present and into the future of cyber attacks and malware. And the best way to look into the future is through the lens of art. So this is not a museum, this is an art museum. We've commissioned different kinds of art pieces from different artists from around the world to get their view of cyber attacks and malware, and they've been inspired by our world to create completely new kinds of art. And the museum is now finished. It's a public museum, it's an open museum, so please spread the word. Anybody who's in Helsinki, you're more than welcome to visit our museum, and the rest of the people can visit the museum website to see what it's all about.
Yeah. So if you are in Helsinki, please come here. You will find the address to the museum in the video description link down below. What malware has been transformed into art in this museum? Because there is a lot of malware out there. For Windows, for example, I've seen over 700 million different malware samples were found over the past 25 years. What malware has been transformed into art here?
So we've tried to focus on historically important malware, the largest outbreaks in history, or to themes of important malware, like ransomware. That's important. Even if we don't focus on a specific ransomware version or variant, the whole phenomenon depends, or it deserves to be translated into art. And then we've looked at historical cases where the malware does something really interesting, like shows messages or plays tricks with the user, and we've recorded those as well. The fact is, very large amount of malware doesn't show anything, doesn't do anything that you could actually see, and there's very little to show. But there are exceptions, and many of those exceptions are represented here in the museum.